St. Martin's Day, also known as the Feast of St. Martin, Martinstag or Martinmas, the Feast of St. Martin of Tours or Martin le Miséricordieux, is celebrated on November 11th each year. This is the time when autumn wheat seeding was completed, and the annual slaughter of fattened cattle produced Martinmas beef. Historically, hiring fairs were held where farm laborers would seek new posts. St. Martin of Tours started out as a Roman soldier, then was baptized as an adult and became a monk. It is understood that he was a kind man who led a quiet and simple life. The best-known legend of his life is that he once cut his cloak in half to share with a beggar during a snowstorm, to save the beggar from dying from the cold. That night he dreamed that Jesus was wearing the half-cloak. Martin heard Jesus say to the angels, "Here is Martin, the Roman soldier who was not baptized, he has clothed me." Customs. St. Martin was known as friend of the children and patron of the poor. This holiday originated in France, then spread to England, Germany, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe. It celebrates the end of the agrarian year and the beginning of harvesting. Bishop Perpetuus of Tours, who died in 490, ordered fasting 3 days a week from the day after St. Martin's Day. In the 6th century, local councils required fasting on all days except Saturdays and Sundays from St. Martin's Day to Epiphany, a period of 56 days, but of 40 days fasting, like the fast of Lent. It was therefore called Quadragesima Sancti Martini. This period of fasting was later shortened and called Advent by the Church. The goose became a symbol of Saint Martin of Tours because of a legend that when trying to avoid being ordained bishop he had hidden in a goose pen, where he was betrayed by the cackling of the geese. St. Martin's feast day falls in November, when geese are ready for killing. St. Martin's Day was an important medieval autumn feast, and the custom of eating goose spread to Sweden from France. It was primarily observed by the craftsmen and noblemen of the towns. In the peasant community, not everyone could afford to eat goose, so many ate duck or hen instead. Though no mention of St. Martin's connection with viticulture is made by Gregory of Tours or other early hagiographers, he is nonetheless credited with a prominent role in spreading winemaking throughout the Touraine region and facilitating the planting of many vines. The Greek myth that Aristaeus first discovered the concept of pruning the vines after watching a goat eat some of the foliage has been appropriated to Martin. Martin is also credited with introducing the Chenin Blanc grape varietal, from which most of the white wine of Western Touraine and Anjou is made. Historical meaning of Martinmas. Martinmas actually has two meanings. In the agricultural calendar it marks the beginning of the natural winter, but in the economic calendar it is seen as the end of autumn. The feast coincides not only with the end of the octave of All Saints, but with harvest time, the time when newly produced wine is ready for drinking, and the end of winter preparations, including the butchering of animals. Because of this, St. Martin's feast is much like the American Thanksgiving, a celebration of the earth's bounty. Because it also comes before the penitential season of Advent, it is seen as a mini carnival, with all the feasting and bonfires. As at Michaelmas on the 29th of September, goose is eaten in most places. Following these holidays, women traditionally moved the work indoors for the winter, while men would proceed to work in the forests. In some countries, Martinmas celebrations begin at the 11th minute of the 11th hour of this 11th day of the 11th month. In others, the festivities commence on St. Martin's Eve. Bonfires are built and children carry lanterns in the streets after dark, singing songs for which they are rewarded with candy. Celebrations around the world. Austria, Martinloben, is celebrated as a harvest festival. Events include art exhibitions, wine tastings, and live music. Martiniganzel is the traditional dish of the season. In Austria, St. Martin's Day is celebrated the same way as in Germany. The nights before and on the night of November 11th, children walk in processions carrying lanterns, which they made in school, and sing Martin songs. Belgium, the day is celebrated on the evening of November 11th in a small part of Belgium. Children go through the streets with paper lanterns and candles, and sing songs about St. Martin. Sometimes a man dressed as St. Martin rides on a horse in front of the procession. In the east part of the Belgian province of West Flanders, especially around Ypres, children receive presents from either the friends or family as supposedly coming from St. Martin on November 11th. In other areas it is customary that children receive gifts later in the year from either the friends or family as supposedly coming from St. Nicholas on December 5th or 6th or Santa Claus on December 25th. In some areas, there is a traditional goose meal, although in West Flanders there is no specific meal. In other areas it is more a day for children, with toys brought on the night of 10 to the 11th of November. In other areas, children go from door to door, singing traditional St. Emmet songs, sporting a hollow beetroot with a carved face and a candle inside. Later in the evening there is a bonfire where all of them gather. At the end the beetroots are thrown into the fire and pancakes are being served. Croatia, Slovenia. In Croatia, St. Martin's Day marks the day when the must traditionally turns to wine. The must is usually considered impure and sinful until it is baptized and turned into wine. The baptism is performed by someone who dresses up as a bishop and blesses the wine. This is usually done by the host. Another person is chosen as the godfather of the wine. The foods traditionally eaten on the day are goose and homemade or store-bought mlinci. The biggest event in Slovenia is the St. Martin's Day celebration in Maribor, which marks the symbolic winding up of all the wine growers' endeavors. There is the ceremonial christening of the new wine, and the arrival of the wine queen. The square Trg Leona Stuclia is filled with musicians and stalls offering autumn produce and delicacies. Slovakia. In Slovakia, the feast of St. Martin is like a second birthday for those named after this saint. Small presents are money are common gifts for this special occasion. Tradition says that if it snows on the feast of St. Martin, November 11th, then St. Martin came on a white horse and there will be snow on Christmas Day. However, if it doesn't snow on this day, then St. Martin came on a dark horse and it will not snow on Christmas. Czech Republic. A Czech proverb connected with the feast of St. Martin, Martin Přijíždí bílém koni, signifies that the first half of November in the Czech Republic is the time when it often starts to snow. St. Martin's Day is the traditional feast day in the run-up to Advent. Czechs roast goose and drink the Czech version of Beaujolais Nouveau, Svatomartinské víno, a young wine from the recent harvest. Wine shops and restaurants around Prague pour the first of the St. Martin's wines at 11:11 a.m. Many restaurants offer special menus for the day, featuring the traditional roast goose. Denmark. In Denmark, Mortensaften, meaning the evening of St. Martin, is celebrated with traditional dinners, while the day itself is rarely recognized. The background is the same legend as mentioned above, but nowadays the goose is most often replaced with a duck due to size, taste and/or cost. Estonia. In Estonia, Martinmas signifies the merging of Western European customs with local Balto-Finnic pagan traditions. It also contains elements of earlier worship of the dead as well as a certain year-end celebration that predates Christianity. For centuries, Mardapev has been one of the most important and cherished days in the Estonian folk calendar. It remains popular today, especially among young people and the rural population. Martinmas celebrates the end of the agrarian year and the beginning of the winter period. Among Estonians, Martinmas also marks the end of the period of All Souls, as well as the autumn period in the Estonian popular calendar when the souls of ancestors were worshipped, a period that lasted from November 1st to Martinmas. On this day, children disguise themselves as men and go from door to door, singing songs and telling jokes to receive sweets. Germany. A widespread custom in Germany is bonfires on St. Martin's Eve, called Martinsfeuer. In recent years, the processions that accompany those fires have been spread over almost a fortnight before Martinmas. At one time, the Rhine River Valley would be lined with fires on the eve of Martinmas. In the Rhineland region, Martin's Day is celebrated traditionally with a get-together, during which a roasted suckling pig is shared with the neighbors. The nights before and on the night of November 11th, children walk in processions carrying lanterns, which they made in school, and sing Martin songs. Usually, the walk starts at a church and goes to a public square. A man on horseback dressed like St. Martin accompanies the children. When they reach the square, Martin's bonfire is lit and Martin's pretzels are distributed. In some regions of Germany, in a separate procession, the children also go from house to house with the lanterns, sing songs and get candy in return. The origin of the procession of lanterns is unclear. To some, it is a substitute for the St. Martin bonfire, which is still lit in a few cities and villages throughout Europe. It formerly symbolized the light that holiness brings to the darkness, just as St. Martin brought hope to the poor through his good deeds. Even though the tradition of the large crackling fire is gradually being lost, the procession of lanterns is still practiced. The tradition of the St. Martin's goose or Martinsgans, which is typically served on the evening of St. Martin's feast day following the procession of lanterns, most likely evolved from the well-known legend of St. Martin and the geese. Martinsgans is usually served in restaurants, roasted, with red cabbage and dumplings. In some regions of Germany, the traditional sweet of Martinmas is Martinshornchen, a pastry shaped in the form of a croissant, which recalls both the hooves of St. Martin's horse and, by being the half of a pretzel, the parting of his mantle. In parts of Western Germany, these pastries are instead shaped like men. Great Britain. In the United Kingdom, St. Martin's Day is known as Martinmas. It is one of the term days in Scotland. Many schools celebrate St. Martin's Day. Many schools are also named after St. Martin. Martinmas beef was from cattle slaughtered at Martinmas and salted or otherwise preserved for the winter. The now largely archaic term, St. Martin's Summer, referred to the fact that in Britain people often believed there was a brief warm spell common around the time of St. Martin's Day, before the winter months began in earnest. A similar term that originated in America is Indian Summer. In the United Kingdom, however, November 11th is now better known for being Remembrance Day. Ireland. In Ireland, on the eve of St. Martin's Day, it is tradition to sacrifice a cockerel by bleeding it. The blood was collected and sprinkled on the four corners of the house. Also, in Ireland, no wheel of any kind was to turn on St. Martin's Day, because Martin was thrown into a mill stream and killed by the wheel, and so it was not right to turn any kind of wheel on that day. In Northern Ireland, the village and surrounding parish of Desert Martin owes its name to St. Columba, who visited there in the 6th century. He erected a church there as a retreat and named it in honor of St. Martin. Hence the name in Irish Disar Martin, or Retreat of Martin. Sicily. In Sicily, November is the winemaking season. On St. Martin's Day, Sicilians eat anise biscuits washed down with Moscato, Malvasia passito. More precisely, the hard biscuits are dipped into the Moscato. The Estate di San Martino is the traditional Sicilian reference to a period of unseasonably warm weather in early to mid-November. St. Martin's Day is celebrated in a special way in a village near Messina and at a monastery dedicated to him overlooking Palermo beyond Monreale, Latvia. Martini is traditionally celebrated by Latvians on November 10, marking the end of the preparations for winter, such as salting meat and fish, storing the harvest and making preserves. Martini also marks the beginning of masquerading and sledding, among other winter activities. Malta Street. Martin's Day is celebrated in Malta on the Sunday nearest to November 11th. Children are given a bag full of fruits and sweets associated with the feast, known by the Maltese as Il Borsatà, San Martin, Saint Martin's bag. This bag may include walnuts, hazelnuts, almonds, chestnuts, dried or processed figs, seasonal fruit and St. Martin's bread roll. There is a traditional rhyme associated with this custom, EWZ, luz castan, tinkem in hobu lil San Martin. Walnuts, almonds, chestnuts, figs. I love St. Martin so much. A feast is celebrated in the village of Baria on the outskirts of Rabat, including a procession led by the statue of St. Martin. There is also a fair and a show for local animals. San Anton School, a private school on the island, organizes a walk to and from a cave especially associated with Martin in remembrance of the day. A number of places in Malta are named after this saint, including San Martin on the outskirts of St. Paul's Bay, and Ebel San Martin outside of Edgeton, Netherlands. The day is celebrated on the evening of the 11th of November in St. Parts, where he is known as St. Martin. As soon as it gets dark, children up to the age of 11 or 12 go door to door with handcrafted lanterns made of hollowed-out sugar beet or, more recently, paper, singing songs such as St. Martin, hoping to receive candy in return, similar to Halloween. In the past, poor people would visit farms on the 11th of November to get food for the winter. In the 1600s, the city of Amsterdam held boat races on the Lake IJ. 400 to 500 light craft, both rowing boats and sailboats, took part under the eyes of a vast crowd on the banks. Poland Street. Martin's Day is celebrated mainly in the city of Poznan. On November 11th, the people of Poznan buy and eat considerable amounts of rogale, locally produced croissants, made specially for this occasion, filled with almond paste with poppy seeds, so-called Rogel Swat Marcinski, or Martin croissants or St. Martin croissants. Legend has it this centuries-old tradition commemorates a Poznan baker's dream. His nighttime reveries had Street Martin entering the city on a white horse that lost its golden horseshoe. The very next morning, the baker whipped up horseshoe-shaped croissants filled with almonds, white poppy seeds and nuts, and gave them to the poor. In recent years, competition amongst local bakeries has become fierce for producing the best rogale, and very often bakeries proudly display a certificate of compliance with authentic, traditional recipes. Poznanians celebrate with a feast specially organized by the city. There are different concerts, a St. Martin's parade and a fireworks show. Portugal. In Portugal, Street Martin's Day is commonly associated with the celebration of the maturation of the year's wine, being traditionally the first day when the new wine can be tasted. It is celebrated traditionally around a bonfire, eating the mogosto, chestnuts roasted under the embers of the bonfire, and drinking a local light alcoholic beverage called agua pe acute, or the stronger jarapica. Agua pe acute, though no longer available for sale in supermarkets and similar outlets, is still generally available in small local shops from domestic production. Light de Vasconcelos regarded the Magusto as the vestige of an ancient sacrifice to honor the dead and stated that it was tradition in Barqueros to prepare, at midnight, a table with chestnuts for the deceased family members to eat. The people also mask the faces with the dark wood ashes from the bonfire. A typical Portuguese saying related to St. Martin's Day, Dia de São Martinho, comemos castanas, prova cheia vinho. It is St. Martin's Day. We'll eat chestnuts, we'll taste the wine. Closing parenthesis. This period is also quite popular because of the usual good weather period that occurs in Portugal in this time of year, called Verão de São Martinho. It is frequently tied to the legends since Portuguese versions of St. Martin's legend usually replace the snowstorm with rain and have Jesus bringing the end of it, thus making the summer a gift from God. Spain. In Spain, St. Martin's Day is the traditional day for slaughtering fattened pigs for the winter. This tradition has given way to the popular saying, a cada cedola llega su San Martin, which translates as, every pig gets its St. Martin. The phrase is used to indicate that wrongdoers eventually get their comeuppance. St. Martin, Saint Martin. In St. Martin, November 11th is St. Martin's Day, not because of the same traditions as in other countries, but that's the date when the island was divided into two nations, French St. Martin and Dutch St. Martin. It is a public holiday on both sides to commemorate this event. Celebrations highlight tradition, music, culture, and food. Sweden. St. Martin's Day was an important medieval autumn feast, and the custom of eating goose spread to Sweden from France. In early November, geese are ready for slaughter, and on St. Martin's Eve, November 10th, it is time for the traditional dinner of roast goose. The custom is particularly popular in Skåne in southern Sweden, where goose farming has long been practiced, but it has gradually spread northwards. A proper goose dinner also includes apple charlotte. Switzerland. Its celebration has mainly remained a tradition in the Swiss Catholic region of the Edgeoir in the canton of Jura. The traditional gargantuan feast, the Repas du Saint Martin, includes all the parts of freshly butchered pigs, accompanied by shots of Damascene, and lasting for at least 5 hours. United States. In the United States, St. Martin's Day celebrations are often an early start to the winter holidays, and reflect the cultural heritage of the community. Many German restaurants feature a traditional menu with goose and glühwein. St. Paul, Minnesota celebrates with a traditional lantern procession around Rice Park. The evening includes German treats and traditions that highlight the season of giving. In Dayton, Ohio, the Dayton Leader Kranz Turner organization hosts a St. Martin's family celebration on the weekend before, with an evening lantern parade to the singing of St. Martin's carols, followed by a bonfire. Other customs. The Auvergne region of central France traditionally hosts horse fairs on St. Martin's Day. Armistice Day. Armistice Day is on the 11th of November and commemorates the armistice signed between the Allies of World War I and Germany at Compiègne, France, for the cessation of hostilities on the Western Front, which took effect at 11 o'clock in the morning, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. Freeing of the Prussian serfs. The Edict of the 9th of October 1807, one of the first and central reforms of Baron Heinrich von Stein's Prussian reforms, liberated all the Prussian peasants by the 11th of November 1810 at the latest. This edict began the process of abolishing serfdom and its hereditary character.